Bakersfield Police Chief Lyle Martin speaks out about the arrest of one of his assistant chiefs. A manhunt is underway for the person who allegedly shot a Merced County Sheriff's deputy, and Kern County Sheriff's deputies will receive a new pay raise. This is 17 News at Noon. Good afternoon, I'm Alex Fisher. We begin with the Bakersfield Police Chief speaking for the first time about the arrest of one of his assistant chiefs. Evan Demestias faces domestic violence charges. BPD says officers were called to the parking lot of the VIP Lounge on California Avenue early yesterday morning after someone spotted a woman being attacked. After talking with the woman, officers got a warrant to arrest Demestias. Chief Lyle Martin says the department takes all domestic violence cases very seriously and adds no one is above the law.
We haven't filed the case yet. We will figure that out, but based on the facts of the case as I know them at this time, he did get arrested for a felony, and there's jail time that's generally associated with felony for domestic violence.
BPD says Demestias will be placed on administrative leave while officers investigate. The trial of two former sheriff's deputies who have previously pleaded guilty to charges in federal court has been postponed. Federal documents show Logan August and Derek Penny admitted to stealing drugs from evidence locker rooms and selling it in September 2014. The disgraced deputies face multiple felony charges stemming from that theft. August's attorney, David Torres, says he's filed more motions and plans to file more. Torres argued the former deputies should not be tried in Kern County as they've already been convicted in federal court. Torres cites the double jeopardy clause, which protects against a second prosecution for the same offense after conviction. At the time the charges were filed, then District Attorney Lisa Green said it's not double jeopardy. Both deputies are scheduled for trial in February. Well, Kevin said it this morning that the weather is going to be a little unpredictable, and sure enough, it was today as we saw rain showers here in the valley.
Yeah, especially this morning, things have quieted down a lot from what we were seeing right around 7:30 this morning. No thunderstorms developing right now, and no rain is falling around the area. Earlier this morning, as these storms developed off to the east, and we did see them in the mountains, started all up in the Ridgecrest area, and kind of made its way into the valley, and just very ominous as these kind of popped on in here. But again, it is nice and quiet around the area right now. Can't rule out some of that moisture still drifting in from the southwest as we go throughout the afternoon. But again, I said all this started out of the Ridgecrest area. We still have the chance of more thunderstorms, mainly to the north into parts of Nevada. That's a severe risk up there. But for California into Kern County, we still have a slight risk into the Kern County mountains and into the desert locations. Right now, we're at 91 in Bakersfield. We have a southwest wind at 5. Taking a look at the temperatures this afternoon, we will be right near 100 before we dip back into the 80s by 10 o'clock. 88 right now in Tehachapi with a southeast wind at 11, and your temperatures looking like this throughout the afternoon. Mid to upper 80s and then slipping back into the comfortable 60s by 10. We are looking at a cooler weekend ahead. We'll talk more about that in just a few minutes, Alex.
All right, Kev, thanks so much. A statewide manhunt is underway for a man accused of shooting a Merced County Sheriff's deputy. It all started yesterday afternoon when two deputies were trying to serve a warrant at a house off Highway 33 in Dos Palos. When they walked up, a man started shooting and hit one deputy in the chest. Deputies say the suspect is 51-year-old Guadalupe Lopez Herrera. He took off in a white 2013 GMC pickup. The license plate number is 25599H1. The sheriff's office says the deputy who was shot was wearing a tactical vest and is expected to be okay. Lopez Herrera is considered armed and dangerous. If you see him, call 911. Sheriff's deputies here in Kern County will be getting a raise. In July, we reported county supervisors approved a 10% increase for entry-level deputies in the department, but members of the Kern Law Enforcement Association still needed to approve the proposal. And last night, KLEA President Richard Anderson confirmed with 17 News the deal was narrowly approved. However, the contract is only good for 1 year. A Central Valley inmate has died after being beaten by another prisoner. It happened Tuesday at the California Substance Abuse Treatment Facility and State Prison in Corcoran. Guards say a fight broke out, and when they got there, they found 72-year-old William New suffering from serious head injuries. Paramedics were called, but New died about 30 minutes later. Guards say the other inmate involved is 54-year-old Mark Hudson. He's serving a life sentence for first-degree murder and first-degree burglary. New also was serving a life sentence for 2 counts of first-degree murder with the use of a firearm. A man arrested by CHP officers on Highway 58, then stopped breathing, has died. Eastbound lanes of the 58 at Cottonwood Road were shut down when CHP officers responded to a man walking on the freeway on Friday. BPD says the man, Jason Gonzalez, attacked CHP officers who took him down on the freeway. CHP hasn't said exactly what happened, but Gonzalez stopped breathing. His family says he died yesterday afternoon. Please confirm that with us as well. BPD is investigating. A man who led police on a wild RV chase last year with his young children in tow will spend decades behind bars. The chase happened in May 2018. Police say 48-year-old Stephen Hauk went on the run after threatening to kill his wife after she refused to have sex with him. He led police on a 100-mile chase in his motorhome that started in Hollywood and ended in Bakersfield. Hauk's 10-month-old and 3-year-old kids were found safe inside the RV, but he took off on foot. It took police 2 days to track him down. Last month, jurors found Hauk guilty of kidnapping, child abuse, injuring a spouse, and other charges. Yesterday, a judge sentenced him to 88 years in prison. Grand theft grape. A Bakersfield man faces felony grand theft charges for stealing and selling cotton candy grapes through a website. The sheriff's office noticed the grapes were being sold online, so deputies reached out to the grower. They found out he never sold the grapes on the website. Deputies tracked down the online seller, 22-year-old Carlos Santiago, who had $300 worth of stolen grapes with him. They arrested him on charges of grand theft and possession of stolen property. Santiago is being held without bail and due in court later today. The Renegades are continuing their season with the home opener this weekend, and if you can't be at the game, you can watch it right here on TV 17 live. The Renegades are taking on Mount San Antonio for the Tri-Tip Kickoff Classic. Game time is 6 p.m., and you can watch it right here on TV 17 after 17 News. And tonight, the big night for the NFL, the 100th season kicks off, and you can watch it only on TV 17. The game starts at 5 o'clock, followed by a special edition of 17 News. Your 17 Health Watch coming up after the break. Welcome back. A controversial vaccine bill is now on Governor Gavin Newsom's desk. The Senate approved the bill yesterday. It gives the Department of Public Health the power to investigate doctors who grant more than 5 childhood vaccine exemptions in a year in schools with vaccination rates of less than 95%. Protesters blocked the front doors to the governor's office, urging him to veto the bill. They say the choice to vaccinate should be between parents and doctors.
You have parents that they feel from the depths of their soul that they are fighting for their children's life and their existence to be happy, healthy kids and adults.
Protesters say they plan to demonstrate outside the governor's office for the rest of this week. The governor has signaled he wants to make small changes to clarify some rules. Those could come in the form of a separate bill. Right now, Hurricane Dorian is a Category 2 storm that moves through the Carolinas, pounding the eastern seaboard. When Dorian blew through the northern Bahamas, as a catastrophic Category 5, it left whole islands devastated. NBC's Carrie Sanders was among the first allowed to travel there since the storm hit and rode along with the U.S. Coast Guard.
We need help. We need help.
Amid so much misery this morning, there are also signs of hope. For thousands at their breaking point, that help has finally arrived. Many have been stranded on Abaco and Grand Bahama for days with no food, no water, and no shelter, with half of the homes on their islands destroyed by Dorian. We joined U.S. Customs and Border Protection air and marine operations on a search and rescue mission. For some survivors on the outer reaches of Abaco Island, this was their first outside contact since Dorian hit.
That's where I was.
Jim Bell remarkably survived, trapped under the debris of a collapsed home while the storm raged and the water rose around him.
Did you think you'd be here after this? No, I thought I was going to die.
His neighbor Steve Harris, who rode out the storm in the dark with his family, did not know how big a storm they survived until I told them.
It felt like hell.
8-year-old Sophie.
It was terrible.
And her 11-year-old sister Samantha.
It was scary, but I'm glad we're still alive and we're safe.
Some of those who survived the storms met rescue teams, but they won't leave the island.
I'm not going to leave my animals.
The water deliveries, a godsend.
It's good because you're here, you can help, but it's You know, it's rough to see people in this situation.
The U.S. Coast Guard also playing a critical role, flying dozens of victims to safety. Overnight, Bahamas Prime Minister grateful for the international aid.
I want to assure you that more help is on the way.
Bahamians also pitching in as much as they can. A first step on what will be a very long road to recovery.
We're happy to be alive, glad that my family is safe, and, you know, we can rebuild. We will rebuild.
You know, it seems like we've been talking about this storm for so long, but there's a reason why. It is a monster.
Yeah, and it's stalled out for some time as well. It is starting to make a move now, though. Right along the Carolina coastline. It is marching at a pretty good clip now. Just a few days ago, it was moving at about 1 mile per hour. Charleston getting a lot of rain, and that's really the key factor in all of this is, yeah, we're getting the winds, but nothing like we saw in the Bahamas. And the rain and the storm surge is really what is going to be impacting parts of the Carolinas, and as it moves up to the north in the next 24 to 48 hours. It is a Category 2 storm right now. Will continue to be a Category 2 through tomorrow before it gets downgraded on Friday night, and then into Saturday we're expecting it to hold its strength. But really the key time period is right now as it hugs the coastline. It'll be a little more off to the east as we round out the work week and head into our weekend. Now take a look at the rain amounts here. We're looking at 5 to 8 inches of rain in a lot of these areas and 4 to 7 feet on the storm surge. So that's really the key point here is the rain and the storm surge along the East Coast. 91 degrees here at home. We saw a little bit of action this morning, a few thunderstorms and a few showers around the area. Southwest wind at 5 miles per hour. Overnight, we were at 78, well above the normal of 66. 93 is our normal high for today. We've got 91 in Delano, 95 in Taft with 80s and 90s into the mountains right now. Tehachapi at 88. We've got 68 out of the Bay Area, 89 in Fresno, and 80s to the south. LA right near 86. Vegas at 97. 96 out in Arvin, a few clouds in the distance, but mostly sunny now. Golden Hills, mostly sunny in 89. And as we take a look at the regional view, we still have some of these isolated thunderstorms to the south and to the east of us as we continue to see this wraparound moisture from the ridge. So we can't rule out maybe one of these developing this afternoon. Daytime highs right near 91 in Sacramento, 101 in Fresno. A hot day in Los Angeles, right near 94, 102 in Vegas. So this is what we're dealing with right now as we head into the end of the weekend into early next week. A trough is developing out of the northwest, and that means relief for us in the temperature department. And you can see that trough kind of digging to the south, and that means the 80s are going to return for us. It looks like right now Sunday through next Wednesday before those temperatures rebound back into the 90s. Air quality today going to be unhealthy for sensitive groups. Your AQI at 115. We'll call for a very slight chance of a developing thunderstorm. 100 in Bakersfield, Delano, and 98 in Taft. For the mountains and the Kern River Valley, a slight chance of those storms developing as well. 90 in Fraser Park, 89 in Tehachapi with 90s into the Kern River Valley. Lake Isabel at 96. For the desert, chance of a thunderstorm developing this afternoon, and we'll look for temperatures right near 103 in Ridgecrest. Your extended forecast looks like this. Tomorrow, 97 and sunny, and then we're back into those 80s as mentioned Sunday through next Wednesday under sunny skies. And then for the mountains, we're also going to be cooling down by Sunday right near 74, and those 70s will hold through the mid part of next week. And then for the Kern River Valley, we're looking at 90s through Saturday, but lower 90s, and then those 80s by Sunday.
Well, like you said this morning on Sunrise, you said today is going to be an unpredictable day because you're not talking about a storm here.
Yeah, we're not talking about a typical storm. We're talking about, tropical moisture to the south and east. It's monsoon season, and we see these strong ridges parked right over Arizona, the Four Corners. You get that wraparound moisture, and that's exactly what we saw this morning. And while it looked like it would be confined to the mountains, they drifted a little into the valley.
Well, it was so funny because I was talking to my brother who was at BC today, and he said, we're getting, it's
especially
pouring,
the east side.
Pouring thunder and lightning, and my dad was like, I'm in the Northwest, and not even a drop,
right.
So it just shows you how isolated these are.
Welcome to Kern County.
Yeah. All right, thanks, Kev. Well, now to one of the world's great unexplained mysteries, the Loch Ness Monster. Thousands have claimed to have seen it over the years, and today we may be a little closer to some actual answers. At a press conference on the shores of Loch Ness, scientists announced the results of this year-long DNA analysis to find out exactly what creatures do lurk beneath that mysterious deep water. Here's NBC's Kelly Kobiea.
Let's get down to it. Is there a plesiosaur in Loch Ness? No.
Professor Neil Gemmell says they've cracked the Loch Ness code. For almost a century, Loch Ness has been the setting for one of the world's greatest mysteries. Thousands of people claim to have seen...
So this black hump come out of the water.
It was like a torpedo going through the water.
I have your footage here. So
and filmed an unknown creature in Loch Ness. Last year, we followed Professor Gemmell and his team as they began their investigation to discover just what does live there.
That clear-looking water actually contains an abundance of life.
They extracted samples of water from all over the loch, collecting DNA, because all living creatures in the loch will leave a trace.
And perhaps there's something mysterious in there too.
For decades, many researchers believed that the monster might be a Jurassic reptile, a plesiosaur.
There doesn't seem to be any plesiosaur DNA in Loch Ness.
The world's greatest mystery.
A new 2-hour Travel Channel special follows Gemmell's quest in his laboratory at the University of Otago in New Zealand, analyzing millions of DNA sequences and producing a complete picture of everything that lives in the loch.
I'm the monster of Loch Ness.
The 2-hour special also charts the incredible history of the hunt for the monster.
Dan Scott Taylor went down in the loch. He said the Loch Ness monster bumped up against his submarine.
And the fakers who fooled the world.
The footprints were made with the cast of a left foot of a hippopotamus.
So, if there really is some huge creature living in Loch Ness and it isn't a dinosaur, what could explain all those sightings?
There was talk of the Victorians stocking Loch Ness with Wels catfish, and these are very big animals, 12, 16 feet in length, and so that could be a monster.
Only problem is...
we haven't actually got any evidence at all of catfish DNA or sturgeon DNA in our samples.
But, says Professor Gemmell, there is one possible candidate.
There is an awful lot of eel DNA in Loch Ness. Could there be a giant eel? Well, we know there are mutations that make things much larger than normal.
So, could this be Nessie? Case closed? Well, not quite.
Kelly Kobiea reporting, so I guess the mystery continues. Still ahead, a new dating service is coming to social media. How a like on Facebook could lead to a lifetime of love.
KGET Business Watch is brought to you by Grapevine MSP Technology Services, the Valley's leading IT service provider.
Welcome back and taking a live look at Wall Street on this Thursday afternoon. The Dow Jones is up 398 points. This all comes after China and the U.S. agree to a trade talk next month. S&P 500 up 41, NASDAQ up 144. Meantime, checking oil prices, West Texas Intermediate is at $56.13 a barrel, and Midway Sunset, $58.26 a barrel. Facebook is getting into the dating game. This morning, the social network launched Facebook Dating here in the United States. After offering the service previously in 19 other countries, it's only available to Facebook members 18 years or older on the Facebook app. The service will live in a separate space from users' Facebook profile to keep dating activity away from your news feed, unless you want to put it there. A user can only send one message to someone they're interested in until and if that person chooses to respond. Coming forward, that's up next. A sexual assault survivor in a high-profile case shares her story after years of keeping quiet. That's after the break. Welcome back. A high-profile case that ignited outrage in 2016 is making news once again. The woman who was sexually assaulted by a Stanford swimmer is now coming forward. Typically, sexual assault victims remain anonymous, and for years that was the case for Chanel Miller. No one knew her name. What they did know was that she read a powerful statement in court when her attacker was sentenced. Now Miller's choosing to go public, revealing her name and sharing her story with a new book. Here's NBC's Joe Fryer.
In court, she was known only as Emily Doe, but now Chanel Miller wants people to see her face and hear her story.
You cannot give me back the life I had.
In an upcoming interview with 60 Minutes, she recites part of the emotional victim impact statement she read in court.
In newspapers, my name was unconscious, intoxicated woman. 10 syllables and nothing more than that. I had to force myself to relearn my real name, my identity.
Miller has also written a memoir titled Know My Name, which comes out later this month. It recounts her journey since she was sexually assaulted in 2015 outside a fraternity party at Stanford University. Brock Turner, a Stanford student and star swimmer, was convicted on 3 counts of felony sexual assault. The maximum sentence was 14 years, but he was sentenced to just 6 months in county jail and only served 3 of those months. The judge, Aaron Persky, said a longer sentence would have had a, quote, severe impact on Turner.
3 months is not enough.
That sparked an outcry.
Judge Persky has got to go.
Judge Persky was later recalled by California voters, the first time that has happened in more than 80 years. Well, Miller's victim statement, which was published by BuzzFeed, became a call to action for lawmakers and activists. It was even read aloud on the floor of the House of Representatives.
To girls everywhere, I am with you. On nights when you feel alone, I am with you. When people doubt you or dismiss you, I am with you.
Brock Turner is now a registered sex offender living with family in Ohio. As for Chanel Miller, as she said in her victim statement, he is a lifetime sex registrant. That doesn't expire. Just like what he did to me doesn't expire, doesn't just go away after a set number of years. It stays with me. It's part of my identity. It has forever changed the way I carry myself, the way I live the rest of my life.
That was Joe Fryer reporting. Well, still to come, a tasty lunch for a good cause. We'll explain coming up after this.
Welcome back. We're getting ready once again to welcome you to another barbecue for a great cause. On Wednesday, we'll be serving lunch to help out the Wounded Heroes Fund of Kern County. And we're going to team up with all of the volunteers and the Wounded Heroes, all to raise money for this great nonprofit.
Yeah, again, so it's happening from 10:30 till 2 p.m. on Wednesday, September 11th, and you get a tri-tip sandwich, a cookie, chips, and a drink, all for $10. And let me tell you, this tri-tip sandwich,
it's delicious.
It is delicious, and they usually are really generous with the meat, too.
Yeah, and I think Wendy Porter, who kind of spearheads all of this with the Wounded Heroes, she's going to be very happy.
Yeah, what's the weather looking
80s.
It's pretty nice
Great
out there.
Barbecue weather.
So put it on your calendar, Wednesday, September 11th. All right, thanks so much for joining us for the news at noon. We'll see you back here after Thursday night football.
17 News, your local news leader, continues 24 hours a day on KGET.com and our 17 News app in the spirit of the Golden Empire. 17 News.